Okay, this is the last video before test number 3, and we've in the previous video we added and subtracted polynomials. Now we're going to multiply them. So here we have a monomial, meaning one term times another one term. So the easiest way to do it is to multiply the numbers. 3 times -2 is our -6. And then we have like bases, so we add the exponents. The 4 and the 5 make 9. So this is 3 monomials, or 3 single terms multiplied together. Notice there are no addition or subtraction between them. So we take the numbers. -4 times 2 is -8. -8 times the 3. That's how we get our number part. And we take each variable separately if we have multiple variables and add those exponents. So 5 and the 3 and the 1 make 9 for the y, and 2, 3, and 1 make z to the 6th. So the next is a single term, a monomial, times a polynomial, in this case a binomial. So here we have a parentheses and we have a term outside it, so we have to distribute it. So 5x times the first term, 2x, leaves our 10x squared. 5x times the positive 4 is 20x. The next one is a binomial times a binomial. In other words, 2 terms times 2 terms. So the FOIL method, where the F stands for first. So we take the first term times the first term. So 2a times 3a is our 6a squared. The O stands for the outside. 2 terms, so 2a times 5 is 10a. The I stands for the inside, 2. So 4 times 3a is 12a. And the L stands for last times last. So 4 times the 5 is 20. So in the middle, you should end up with 2 like terms. So 10a and 12a are 22a. So in red here is our final answer. 6a squared plus 22a plus 20. The next one is a binomial, 2 terms times 3 terms. So this way, probably the easiest way to do it is stacking. There is another way where you can take the 7a times each of the terms separately. If you stack them, you can line them up, excuse me, nicely by common terms. So either way you do it, you have to take the first term times each of the terms in the trinomial. So 7y gets multiplied by the 6y squared. 7y gets multiplied by the -8y. And 7y times the positive 1. Then you take the second term and multiply it times each of the terms in the trinomial. So the 3 times the 6y squared, 3 times the -8y, and 3 times the positive 1. If you do it the stacking method, you can notice that you can line them up so that you have common terms, and then they're easier to identify. You can string it out like this, but you're going to have a whole bunch of terms that you're going to have to pick out the like ones from. Then you just combine the terms, and there is your answer. So then there's a couple examples here where they get a little more complicated. So here we have a binomial times a binomial, and then that whole thing is times negative 3a. So probably the easiest way is to take these two and use the FOIL method. And leave this negative 3a out until last. So when you FOIL these two, first times first, 4a squared, outside negative 28a, inside positive a, and remember there's one of them, and then last times last, combine the middle two, and then distribute your negative 3a times each term. There are a couple special cases. Squaring a binomial. If you have x plus y squared, that means you have two quantities of x plus y that have to be multiplied. So you can use the FOIL method here. So you get first times first, x times x squared. Outside will be xy. The inside will be yx, but if you put it alphabetically, it'll be xy just like the outside too. And then last times last, y squared. Combine these two for 2xy. So it's x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. This is a shortcut way to do this, where you take the first term and square it. Then you multiply these two and double it. So x times y is 1xy. If you double it, you get 2xy. And then you square the last term. If you can take the shortcut only in these particular situations, or you can always do the FOIL method. Likewise, if you have x minus y, the quantity squared instead of x plus y, you can FOIL it just like you did over here, and you end up with this answer. Or you can take the shortcut, square the first one, multiply these two together, and double it, and then square the last term. Another unique situation is the sum and difference of the same two terms. So if we have x plus y times x minus y, the x and the y are the same. The only difference is one has a positive and one has a negative between them. So when you do that, you're going to notice that if you FOIL it, you're going to have x squared for your first term, you're going to have negative xy for the outside and positive xy for the inside. So these are going to go away. And then last times last is your negative y squared. So you're going to end up with no middle term here. When you have the sum and difference of the same two terms, you won't end up with a middle term. You just have a first and a last term. Higher powered binomials. So you might have x plus 1 to the third power. So this is basically what it means right here. You have three of them multiplied together. So take two of them first, and you would end up with one more x plus 1 that you would have to multiply by. So you get x squared plus 2x plus 1 for the first multiplication, and then you have to multiply it by the third x plus 1. And when you do that, again, I think it's easiest to do the stacking, but you could do it individually. So if you end up with to the third power, do two of them first, and then take the last one and multiply it by the answer when you took the first two. Next is a little more detailed one. This one you had the quantity 3y minus 2, that quantity squared, minus y minus 5 times y plus 5. So again, you have a negative out here. You want to take care of that last. So if you square this, you'll end up with the blue part right here. And when you square, or when you FOIL this, you're going to get rid of the middle term. Then you distribute this negative. It's just like when we had the negative 3a out there. We took care of that last. Take care of the negative in front of the two parentheses last. So we have the first term that we squared right here. And then we distribute this negative y squared, negative 1 times y squared, negative 1y squared, and negative 1 times negative 25, positive 25. And then we simply combine the terms. We have some y squareds here, 8 and a negative 1, so we get, or 9 and a negative 1, we get 8y squared. There is no other y term, so we just put this in descending order, so a negative 12y. And then the last term will be 4 plus 25, or 29. So that ends the segments for test 3.